All right, so today I want to chat a little bit about a stock I don't always talk about. It's one that's been an underdog for quite a while, but it's up 19% today, and that's huge, and that is Macy's. The stock is exploding. I'd say exploding to the moon when you really think about it. And if you look at this chart, it's quite phenomenal, and it's huge. So people that have bought into Macy's a while back, good for you. This stock is now moving and powering higher. There's a lot of news surrounding it. So when you look at what's going on with the news behind it, offered $5.8 billion buyout that could take it off the market. So also owns Bloomingdale's, so U.S. department store chain that also owns, reportedly received an approach from two existing investors. So in either case, what they're aiming for is if this goes off the market, it jumps based on this possible buyout. And this is where gaps usually don't get filled because when you get a buyout like this, that's pushing the stock higher. Is it one to kind of get into right now and chase it? I don't know. I mean, this is a tough call because the stock has been kind of an underweight for quite some time. And when we look at just overall what's been going on with the company, it was down at the $10 price range. So this reminds me of back in the Twitter days of the Twitter buyout, where that stock could gap up and it could continue to move higher. Right. So when we look at this, it could continue to go into this. But remember, with a buyout, you got to know a lot more emotional things where support and resistance don't matter as much. I mean, they do matter. But if you've got this buyout, look at this big gap up, and then we could gap and continue to power higher. Again, depending on what the buyout deals in terms and as things progress. So now this news is public. And a lot of people, when you really look at it, they're probably what people already buying into this a bit earlier. They kind of knew this was happening, right? They're starting to accumulate shares, and then now the news gets released, and now you've got even more of a big buyout and a big push higher. So already, did you miss the move? Probably. Are there ways to play it with the option spreads? Yeah, there are. Maybe buying like a vertical spread or something along those ways. But you need to be careful with these buyout things. If you think, hey, already it's at 20, it's already up 20%. And, the stock was at 12. So now you're buying at 20. Could it still be a good deal? Absolutely. It could be, especially if the buyout deals were maybe 25. So if you get it now, you could have a run. But is it one to take a chance on? You got to be the person to decide on that because this stock, if things fall through, if the merger doesn't work, then all of a sudden, you could get a pullback similar to the Twitter deal where it was just whipping around, up, down, all around. You really just don't know what's going to play out. But otherwise, it's quite amazing for the investors that were in this stock and, struggling with it on the long side because the stock has had I would say not the best history. And the retailers in general, they're not always ones that are doing so hot. So let me pull up a couple of the retailers here. Let's pull up Macy's. Let's see what I've got. I've got DDS, so Dillard's also 374. That one's been kind of kicking off well. KSS, Kohl's up $1. Ross still pushing higher. Walmart's one down. Wayfair also up. So you can see some of the retailers are really doing well, and I think in part of this news. So it's moving well in that regard, and the retail sector is also moving well, but will it last? I don't know. Retailers are usually very tough. This is a good season though for retailers, meaning from that Black Friday on to about January is kind of peak prime time for them. So they do usually run fairly well during this time frame. But you have to be careful from a buyout standpoint that you've got this gap up, and if you've got a further move higher, I mean, it's kind of a first big day. You've had some previous days there, but it could continue to move. But then you got this big gap underneath. If the deal falls through, it's something that you want to be careful. So I'm not one to say you got to get in it right now, or or it's going to fall apart. It's just be careful in the sense that these things can whip around once you get these buyout news. I would say don't overtrade it, because if you try to, hey, I'm going bullish now, and then all of a sudden it starts reversing and then you go bearish, that could create quite a bit of issues. Anyways, read some of the news if you want, but the news isn't really going to give you anything regarding position sizing, because that's going to be more important. Because if you go in and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go with Macy's, and now I will do a vertical spread in the next 30 days, even then there's slim pickings just because of the move up. But let's say you get a vertical spread here, and now you're looking risk to reward. I mean, it's all over the place right now. So I don't even know if that would be even the wisest approach. Maybe here, the 39 day, we could try a vertical. So then you can go into a vertical spread in this regard, where now you're risking 50 to make 50, and then you can, ramp up some contracts if you like on that. And now this could be a more of a smarter way to play it, where you got a defined risk, risking about 500 to maybe make 500, and if it pops, you're good to go. But that could be the approach to do with moves like this, because otherwise you could get a little bit sucked in to this move, especially if you're more emotional about things, and then it could roll over, and that's where things could become a little bit of an issue. Anyways, hope that helps. Thanks for joining me and watching this Macy's thing. It's definitely not one I always pay attention to because it's under the radar, but today, hey, making huge news, huge headlines, and I guess keep an eye on it and see if you want to play it to the upside or the downside, whatever your case is, because sometimes if the deal falls apart, you could actually do quite well on the short side of it as well. Anyways, thanks again. I'll see you next time.